Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're going to get started on part 4 of the P1 Snap build tonight. Got a little bit of spare time up my sleeve, so I thought I would just start off with something simple and get a little bit of epoxy mixed up and fill in a couple of bits and pieces. So thought I would quickly show this little sucker off. This is my HPI Rate. You don't see too many of these kicking around these days, at least not in good nick. This started life as an actual electric one. It was actually a Ken Block Gymkhana body on it. Still got that body over there, but it's a bit flogged. But this is a really nice example of the HPI Rate, and you can finally buy these gold rims to suit it. They're a funny sized wheel. I think they're like 80 mil, so technically this car's an 8 scale, but yeah, I just thought I'd pop that up on the bench for everyone to get a bit of a look at, because it is quite a nice little car. I'll pop the lid off for you. Nothing too crazy. Got a little Mamba X in there. It's actually pushing a can't remember what kV this guy is. It's a Steve New motor. I think it might be like 2700 kV, something like that. On 3S it absolutely rips. So yeah, it's a nice little rig, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll get started into this sucker here, the main event, and I'll show you what we're going to get into. Alright, well, I am hoping that this is one of the last videos in the series, that the boat's going to be pretty well together by the end of this. So for now, like I said, I'm just going to get started on a little bit of gluing. All I'm going to do is just fill in these front areas here, and I'm actually going to do this rear vent here tonight and just get that all together. I'm going to save this sucker for another time, but yeah, we'll get those bits and pieces done. As I said in the last video, I am still waiting for a lot of gear to come in the mail, so this is just going to be put together as that comes in. But yeah, like I said, the real meat and potatoes bit is going to be getting all the hardware installed into the center of the boat. So I'll get to mixing up some glue and yeah, into it. Alright, so got the shaft sort of made up. It's not glued in or anything yet, but I will get it out and show you a closer look at the design that I've done with it. But basically, I think I've decided this is where the motor's going to end up being. It's sort of, at the moment, as it all sits, it's CGing right around just behind 30%. So those trays will slide a long way forward, but once I get the longer sliding trays, if that's the central location, I should be able to get sort of like, I don't know, 29% to 32% CG, and I think that's going to be where I'm going to be settling on that front. But yeah, look, got the oiler all on and got a mocking up shaft, just sort of, so it's going in perfectly there, so quite happy with that. Nothing's glued in, like I said, yet, but I'll get this shaft out and quickly show you what I had to do to make it work. So here's a closer look at the shaft. Only a very slight bend in it. You can see there. Just hit it with the blowtorch briefly, just to get it nice and soft. This is the, what size is it? The 5/18 size, whatever it is. The skinny stuff. This is 1/4 inch tube. Okay, and this is the 10 mil thick 1/4 inch tube. Also got another little band of regular 1/4 inch tube there for the support. So you can see I've got a slight mark on the back here. That measures 9 millimeters, and that's as far into the stinger as this protrudes in. So that black line basically lines right up here. So we've only got 9 mil of actual shaft inside the stinger. I may end up putting a bit of heat shrink around the shaft, but if you put it in too far, you don't get the ability to easily adjust the angle on the stinger. So
That's important, but so is making sure water's not going to get into this sucker. So overall, everything's lined up quite nicely, straight down the middle, down the guts. Really happy with that. Only thing I am not happy with is it's a bit tough to see here right now, but if I straighten this boat up a bit, let me get it straight. So I've just straightened the boat up a bit on the stand here. If I zero this angle finder out, now not ideal using the deck as a reference point, but if we zero that out, this motor is in the position where it needs to be. If I go ahead and put this on, you can see it's got a significant angle down here. Let's try and get a bit more light down here. So I think just during the sanding process, there's just a little bit of a high side left on this side compared to this side. And so the motor is sort of kicked over. So I think I'm just going to have to shave down this leg of the motor mount. And I'm just going to get that nice and flat. It's probably not the end of the world sitting how it is, but you know, it's not glued in or anything yet, so may as well make it right. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that straightened out, and we're probably going to in two minds whether to glue this in now or wait for these battery trays to come. I probably will end up waiting for the battery trays to come before I proceed any further. It should only be a couple of days away now. So, but anyway, just wanted to give that little update that it's starting to come together. Like I said, I'm really stoked with how smooth that's actually going into the collet. Everything's lining up beautifully. So we are very close to getting all this glued in. I am going to use this joint sealing compound to lock that down. This one is not coming off now, so I'm just going to leave that and hope for the best. I still need to take the actual nipple off and drill out the oiling slot. But once all that's put together, we'll be ready to glue that in. So the battery trays arrived finally, and dang, they are really, really nice units, that's for sure. And they take care entirely of being able to achieve the CG range that I am chasing. So just to give you an idea of the size difference, it's rather large. They are wider as well as much longer. And as you can see, the slides come a long way up. This front battery hangs off quite substantially at the front. So where I'm going to position them, I'm going to be just shy of 33% and just shy of 28% in the CG range. So that's good. Happy with that. A few other little notable things. We've got the flex tube pretty well finished now. I've drilled the oiler slot inside underneath the nipple there. All the brass sleeves are all adhered with the adhesive compounds. I went ahead and shaved down this leg of the motor mount. It's not perfect, but if we've got that measurement on the bow, we're sitting there, and that is where the motor will sit. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that. I can live with just a tiny bit. You're never going to pick it up. I still need to shave down the front ring just to make sure that that clamps properly. Also went ahead and ordered in a bit of stainless hardware. The hardware that comes with these trim tabs, not super high quality. These are very small little M2.5 threaded recess head screws. I think they were stainless, but one of them it wasn't a stripped hex head, it was just a deformed hex head. Potato, both just as useless. So I just went ahead and ordered some nicer, they just went everywhere, 304 stainless screws. And yeah, that's going to make a big difference. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing in a few bits and pieces. We're going to just get the stuffing tube glued in. We'll get that sorted, and then we can start getting the motor and the battery trays, ESC tray, all glued in. Also, one other thing that came in, the bellows. So that's all in now, ready to go. I'm actually tempted not even to glue the carbon tube in. It's such a tight fit. So we'll see if that remains watertight. It does protrude through just a little bit. So if I needed to put a dot of super glue around it, that's probably about all I would do there, just so it is removable. So when the bellow ultimately does fail, I can easily replace it down the track. So that's where we're at so far. Small little update. And yeah, next you'll see, I think we'll have a bunch of goodies glued in. Alrighty, well, it's the big day today. We're going to actually get a bit of gear properly glued in. I've got the shaft liner or stuffing tube tacked into place. I'm just using some fast epoxy just to sort of tack it in place. I've got it where it passes through the hole down the back. Pretty well sealed up, but we are going to use the slow glue with carbon fiber chop to seal that area pretty permanently. Got the motor all trimmed down on this edge, so it's sitting pretty flat. We saw that. I went ahead and removed this top plate here, ran it on the bench grinder just for a second or two, checked it, did that a few times, and now this is cinching the motor down properly, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to do these back screws up while I remember, make sure they're all good. So the plan is I'm going to cut my shaft to length. I've measured all that up lengthwise, and I'm pretty happy with where all that's going to sit. What do we got here? That's going to be in there. Got a few little marks for the motor. It's going to be somewhere about there. Decided I'm going to use a Traxxas receiver box. I've had pretty good luck with these in the past for keeping water out of the electronics. I just use a little bit of dielectric grease and I put that all over the receiver. Just crack the receiver open, spread it all through there, put it back together. I'm thinking I'm going to mount that sort of up high on the side over here in that orientation, so that any water that does manage to get in through here, which is really unlikely in these suckers, but it can drain back out. If you put it up the other way around, you're going to have a problem. But that seems, if it goes up there, I should have enough clearance for the battery trays to go in. These are going to be a bit tricky. I don't know if you can see that or not, but they don't sit perfectly flat. I'll grab this out and show you. So they've got these standoffs here, which need to get glued onto the hull. So what I intend to do is just roughly work out where they're all going to be on the hull. I'll score those areas up with a bit of sandpaper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a generous helping dollop of just the fast cure glue and set them into place, because I kind of want them to set in and stay straight. I don't want these to sort of twist up, otherwise that could interfere with how well the battery trays slide, although they seem to be all right, but I'll make every effort to make sure they're in nice and straight. But when I put them all in, everything seems like it's going to clear. The batteries can move well forwards, no problems. And as I said, I'm getting the CGs that I need. The battery trays are going to need to be done individually so that I can turn the boat to get that
part of the V-hull flat, and same on the other side. But that's why I'm going to use the fast glue, is so that I can get them in and set off, you know, within 5 or 10 minutes I'm able to work onto the next one. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get all this tacked into place now. Before I do that, actually, I may need to cut myself an ESC tray. I'll go ahead and get the motor mount tacked into place before I do the ESC tray, just so I'm happy with the final positioning of all that. So yeah, there we go, guys. We're really getting after it now. Well, phase 1 of the gluing. Really went ham on that support. I'm going to have to stay on top of just keeping it neat and tidy. But I wanted to make sure that that was a forever piece, that it wasn't going to be coming out. I've managed to do the top side of the starboard side and the inside of the port side. So this is still slow set glue. You can see I've got some little runs here and there. I'm going to have to stay on top of that. I'm going to see if I can get the boat a little bit more on its side, just to encourage the glue to stay in position. But yeah, the carbon fiber chopped glue is a little bit thicker, so it's not so bad. I'll just have to pull that tape off when the time comes. So also put a little bit down on the back here, you can see there. So that'll be the final hit down on the back there. All that'll be left is to take the stinger off the back and seal up a little bit more where it protrudes from the outside. So yeah, I'll hitch his back when we're gluing the other side. All right, we're going to start gluing in some battery trays now. I've already made a bit of a start. I've done the starboard side over here, and we're moving on to the port side. I just thought I'd quickly show you what I'm doing here. So we have just the tray completely separated here, and I am positioning that into the hull. I'm just using a silver Nico marker to mark out the 6 points inside the actual hull here. And then I'm just taking my Dremel with the drum sander, and I'm scuffing up the carbon inlay in those areas. Once that's done, I reattach the screws and the standoffs to the bottom in the orientation that I want them to be. Trying to keep it all nice and neat and tidy in there, making sure that nothing is going to be in the way of something else like the motor mount. I need to be able to get to the screws to adjust the height of this, and so it's important that the center screws aren't in the way. So I've got it pretty well, as close as I'm going to be able to get it to get the best CG that I can. So I am going ahead and I'm scuffing up the base of all these as well. I am scuffing them up with just some 80 grit, so they're nice and scored up. Once that's all done, like I said, we reattach them to the actual tray, and because they don't sit perfectly flat, I don't want to be pushing these down and having them twist. So when all the standoffs are in place, okay, I am using an epoxy filler. It's sort of like JB Weld. You could use JB Weld, no problem, but I just had this on hand and it's reasonably fast working, and I can put a little blob on the end of all of those standoffs, line it up, put it in place, a couple of lipos on it just to hold it in place. And if there is a gap between the actual hull and the standoff, there's enough epoxy in place that it's going to attach it. It's important not to do any screws up too tight, just so that when you undo it, you're not breaking them free of the hull. Once all that's actually tacked in place, I'll be able to take off these trays and I'll be able to completely glue in those standoffs in their position so they're never coming loose. So it's one and done. I don't ever want to have to take them off. So that's the plan. After that, all we've got left is the ESC tray. I've cut one out, just used a fresh bit of carbon in the end, just easier. And we need to get this in place. I had a couple of riv nuts here that I'm going to use. Same process. Going to put it on the side, scuff it up, and use the epoxy putty to glue those into place. So it's just slow going, just one at a time. I am positioning the boat
so that the side of the boat I'm working on is reasonably flat, because I don't want it to slowly slide down over time. So that's where we're at so far, and once it's all put together, I will give you an update of where we're at. So yeah, like I said, it's just a very quick little scuff up, nothing crazy. Alright, so we're good to go. You can make the pads a little bit bigger, and yeah, easy as that. So like I said, next bit, we just attach them to the tray and glue them in place. So this is sort of what we're going for. Nice big blobs on it, and that's going to keep everything in line. Now I've cleaned all this out with isopropyl alcohol. It's important that everything is Mickey Mouse clean. And secondly, you want to get this tray in the correct way around. Although I think the hole spacings are even, so you could probably get away with it if you mess that up. Alright, we've just got to sort of commit here. No mucking around. Get it in there. Get it over. There we go. And got to try and line it up as best I can with the other side as well, but I think we're on the money there. Touchdown. Alright, that's good. Alrighty, and just like that, it's all glued in. So got the battery trays in, and up in here you can see the two mounts for the receiver box. It gives you a good look at sort of how it glues it all in around the bases. And I've just gone ahead and glued the ESC tray in, so that's still very wet. Might have to still put a little bit around each of these. I'll just have to see what they look like when I take the screws off and have a look at the mounts, clean it all up. If it needs a little bit of extra glue, that's fine, we can deal with that. But beyond that, I ended up deciding, yes, I will beef up the steering. So we've gone up to a 3mm stainless steel push rod. So that's all connected, goes through the bellow, no problems. And that is extremely beefy. So this sucker is close, guys. I'm just waiting on a few other little bits and pieces. Some wire sheathing would be nice to come. You know, just the nice sheathing that goes over all these servo wires, particularly on the ESC, because the castle's very messy with the extremely long wires. While I'm happy they're there, because they actually is enough wire to feed up through there underneath the tray, run down along the side there, and then poke up into the receiver box. So yeah, guys, that's where I'm going to end this one off. So we'll pick it up in the next episode, where we actually finally kind of fit everything in for the final time. I may or may not wait for that sheathing to come. It's on the slow boat from China, so there'll be no reason that that would hold up getting the boat in the water, just for a quick little maiden, see what it's going to do. Still got to get the shaft all ground down, and you know, the drive dogs, all the rest of it on there. We are just going to run this, I think I've already said, this 55/18 prop. It's a bit of a killer, that's for sure, but we'll see how it holds up. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll just have to wait for the next part, because I'm pretty sure this is getting pretty long. Alright, guys. Cheers.